Well, Michael Sweet, it's great to have you on the podcast. Thanks for coming in.
It's great to be on your podcast finally, and I apologize for my appearance. You'd think that I would do my hair one of these days, and I just don't bother anymore. I throw on a beanie and glasses, and I'm ready to go.
It looks good. If you hadn't said anything, nobody would have thought anything of it. You look great. We,
Now
we
everybody's talking about it.
yeah, we go back a long way. I first met you when we were both teenagers, I think. I think you were at probably 19 or so. It was 1985, and I got to see you in full rock star mode because you were being mobbed and swarmed in the streets of Tokyo. We were riding in a limousine together. I was 17, and that's how far back we go. That's how old we are.
It's crazy. Yeah, I was 20, almost 21, but I was 20 years old, just a kid. And I'll never forget that feeling for us. We described it as this must have been what it felt like for the Beatles, but it
Yep.
probably wasn't even close. But
Yep.
hey, it was pretty amazing.
They were banging on the windows and standing in front of the car, and it was just amazing to see you guys in all your glory.
It
Uh,
was crazy. I mean, amazing times, and we're still going, we're still doing it, and we love what we do. But yeah, those were special times. Absolutely.
I was over my vacation. I was looking back at your book because you wrote a autobiography almost 10 years ago or so.
Yep.
And man, you really laid it out in that book. You did not, you just let it all hang. I was really impressed and surprised because usually people write these autobiographies and everything was perfect and it was great. And you were like, you really went into all the details of the struggles you've had over your career and your life.
Oh yeah, and I'll tell you what, the hardest part about writing a book is trying not to throw people under the bus. That's not
Right.
my spirit. I
Right.
don't want to throw anyone under the bus, but you find yourself in a situation where, in order to tell these stories properly, they involve other people, and some of them aren't good stories. And that was the hardest part. And I knew that I would upset some people along the way, and I did. But I'll tell you this: I cut out a lot of stuff. I reread it, and I said, "Nah, I can't. I can't put that in. I can't," because I really didn't want to hurt people.
Yeah.
It
I want to
wasn't
get
my goal.
I want to get that version. Man, that's the great version. Well, we both one of my home in the US, I should say, is where you come from, La Mirada, California, a town we all love, and you grew up here. So, man, take us back to the early years when this all got started in a garage on Fonseca Drive.
Yeah, it was unbelievable. I mean, we moved a lot when I was a kid. My dad was in the railroad, and I remember going to four elementary schools, one junior high, and four high schools. Okay, so that kind of tells you how often we moved. When we moved to La Mirada, I went to La Serna, and then I wound up going to La Mirada High, and then I went to a different high school to finish and do independent studies. And that is where, little did I know, that's where the Stryper legacy or band, whatever you want to call it, would be birthed and born. And it's pretty crazy. My parents gave us the garage. They said, do with it what you want. Thank God for our parents. They were always so supportive. And in that little two-car garage, we used to rehearse. And that's where all those old songs were written. That's where the band developed the yellow and black and worked on our skills and our sound, and everything that we did was in that garage. So it's pretty cool. When I look at it now, photos of it, I don't recognize it at all. It
Mm,
looks like a different house.
mm.
It doesn't look the same, but that is certainly the place. That's where we cut everything and began. And it's really interesting. That's where Rob and I shared a bunk bed till I was 23 years old.
Hmm.
And I got to be honest with you, I couldn't wait to get out of that bunk bed. I ran from that thing as fast as I could.
Now, your mom and dad was Rob's stepdad, right? And so you guys grew up in that area. You went to high school. Now you're driving into LA to do the whole LA metal scene, right?
Yeah, yeah. My dad basically, my brother has a different father, and my mom married my dad, Philip Sweet, and my dad adopted Robert and Lisa, my
Hmm.
sister, as well. And he was that kind of a guy. Just he always treated us the same, and they were his naturally born children just as much as I was. And yeah, in terms of that house, La Mirada, we basically used to drive down to LA every weekend. We became a house band at Gazzari's. We became a semi house band at the Troubadour and the Whiskey. And I remember not having a car and getting a ride down to LA, getting dropped off, and not knowing how to get home.
Hmm.
This was a ritual for me. I did it all the time.
Wow.
When I was 16 years old, 17 years old.
So were you
Uh,
hitchhiking or what?
Say that again.
Were you hitchhiking back?
I was not hitchhiking. To be perfectly honest, I would meet a nice young lady, and she would be kind enough to give me a ride back to my house. So it usually worked out. Sometimes we were sweating it out. We were concerned, but it always worked out. And I was never really fearful of the fact that I wouldn't get a ride home. But if I couldn't get a ride home, I'd go to a payphone and call my brother or call somebody that could come pick me up.
Well, I ask that because, sometimes people mistake you guys with the Christian rock scene of Petra or Whiteheart or whatever, but you guys are really a part of the LA metal scene from the very beginning. That's your world.
Oh yeah, it was. And basically, I know this sounds hard to believe. It might for some, but I started playing the LA club scene when I was 15, almost 16. And I looked older than I was. And I remember going into Gazzari's for the first time and Bill Gazzari looking at me and saying, "How old are you?" And I said, 18. And he said, "Yeah, okay, whatever, get in here, I was very young. And that whole lifestyle went along with, everything else. And I'm not proud of that
Hmm.
by any stretch of the imagination, but it made me who I am today.
Right.
And what happened was I was a Christian at the age of 13 and through Jimmy Swaggart Ministries. And then I started getting involved in the LA club scene. I walked away from Christ in the church. And then at the age of 20, I rededicated my life. And that's when we became Stryper, changed all the lyrics,
Hmm.
rewrote everything, almost 20 years old. And the rest, as they say, is history. It's really amazing.
Yeah, that's an important distinction because you guys really paid your dues. You played a lot of clubs, right? One thing I notice about Christian rock bands in the Christian scene is they often get signed right away out of college and they've never paid any dues like that. And you can tell in the performances, they got to catch up. But you guys paid your dues. You were in the LA metal scene. You're playing with the guys from Poison and whatever bands, right? And
Oh, yeah.
that's part of where you came from.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, we paid our dues and then some. I mean, we grew up in a musical family. So we were paying our dues when we were little kids, meaning my parents were playing clubs and hiring babysitters to watch us while we were home playing guitars and drums and jamming, while they were out playing. And I used to play on my dad's sessions when I was a kid,
Hmm.
go to the studio with him all the time when I was very young. So we really started young. And it
And they
seemed
were,
like a lifetime from the age of like 12 or 13 to 20. It seemed like, 40 years.
and your dad had kind of a country vibe.
My dad did rockabilly, did country.
Hmm.
He looked like Elvis. My mom and dad were managed by Mike Curb. If anybody remembers Mike Curb.
Serious?
Yep. They
No.
were managed by Mike Curb and they were in a lot of those old beach movies, the Dune Buggy movies. My mom and dad were called Billy and Blue, and they were playing on the beach,
No.
managed by Mike Curb, and it's pretty interesting. And my dad wrote a number one country song with Fred Imus, Don Imus's brother,
Hmm.
1978, called "I Don't Want to Have to Marry You." 78, 79. And it was again really a Christian lyric. It was talking about how I don't want to have to marry you. I
Hmm.
want to marry you because I love you, not because we made a mistake and you got pregnant and we had to get married.
Hmm.
That was the message of the song. Pretty cool.
Unbelievable. I worked with Mike the last couple of years on the Reagan soundtracks. I had no
Oh
idea that he
wow!
was a part of the Sweet family. That's really cool.
He was a part of the Sweet family, and that was a long time ago, a lifetime ago. But Mike was always my parents always spoke very highly of Mike, very
Hmm.
high. Yep.
So you're in that scene. Your first band is called Rock's Regime, I believe.
First band. I mean, if you want to go way back, we were Firestorm, and then Aftermath. Then we became Rox, ROXX. We
Hmm.
formed with a guy named John Gerardo in North Whittier. He had a band called Rox. Then he didn't want to do it anymore, and we kept the name and added Regime to it. We became
Hmm.
Rox. I
That
never
was,
liked that name, to be honest, but
yeah. So
Robert loved it.
who came up with the name Stryper?
We debate and talk about that. I don't know who specifically came up with that name. I remember we were getting ready to sign a deal with Enigma Records. They didn't care for the name, nor did I. And they said, "Why don't you guys come up with a new name?" And I was like, "Yes!" I was so happy about that. And we all just started jotting down names for a good week or so. And someone it wrote down the name Stryper. And then Robert said, "Well, what if we spell it with a Y so it rhymes with hyper?"
Hmm.
And it just kind of snowballed from there.
Hmm.
Yeah, and we already had all the stripes.
Right.
So, all of a sudden the stripes began to become significant and take on meaning.
Hmm.
And then once we had the name, we found the scripture, Isaiah 53:5. In some translations, it says, "By his stripes we are healed." And there you go. It all came together and made perfect sense.
And now his name has escaped me, but who's the guy who came to your garage and gave you a prophetic word? What's his name again? Uh,
Kenny Metcalf.
Kenny
Ken,
Metcalf. Is
Kenny
that
Metcalf.
that really happened?
It really happened, man. He was a neighbor, a
Hmm.
fellow musician. And Kenny was a worldly guy like us.
Hmm.
And all of a sudden, he became a Christian and he started coming to our studio preaching to us and saying things like, "If you guys give your band to God, he's going to do incredible things with you." And we would look at him like, this guy's kind of crazy at first. But we knew in our hearts he was right because we were Christians that had backslidden and fell away from our relationship with Christ. So we knew, And he kept coming and preaching, and we kept listening, and the seed kept growing, the seed that he planted.
Yeah, so that was what, 82, 83-ish?
I'm going to say probably around 82 into 3. Yep, correct. And Tim Gaines joined the band in late 83. And then in 84, we were Stryper and we signed a deal and released our first album in July of 84.
Do you remember hanging out at the La Mirada Mall?
Oh, gosh. Yeah. I used to go there all the time.
Wasn't that the best?
I used to go there all the time and walk the mall. And I used to eat at that Mexican restaurant.
Yep.
I
Yep.
believe it was El Torito. Is that
Yep.
correct?
It was and there was a kind of a winding mall. You kind of go here, go there, and there was a food court and the good old
Yeah.
days.
Oh, it was great. And that's back when malls were happening. It was
Right.
exciting to go to a mall.
So
Uh,
then you signed to Enigma, and Robert told me a story years ago that you might have done a switcheroo in the lyrics to get signed with more secular lyrics and then put back the originals. Is there anything to that?
well, here's the thing about Rob. I love Rob. He's my brother. But his stories don't always align with my stories.
Okay, what's yours?
And you guys can take that for what it's worth and figure it out, you know?
Right.
Uh, okay. The way it happened, according to me, is we did a showcase for Enigma, and we were singing at that point in time Christian lyrics. Jesus is the way, from wrong to right. We were singing this stuff,
Right.
but we were really loud, and apparently they couldn't understand the word we were singing.
Okay.
So when we signed a deal, we submitted the lyrics. That's when they read the lyrics and said, "Oh, whoa, 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 wait a minute here. You guys are Christian? Wait a second." And they literally considered, reneging and saying, "Hey, let's not do this." But they kept us on board and we convinced them that it was going to be a great decision. And all the lyrics were Christian at that point in time. But basically, what happened with the lyrics is I really felt convicted to start rewriting the lyrics. So I went in the house one night, rewrote a couple lyrics, came down the next day, and I said, "Guys, we're doing this. Let's do it." And Oz and Robert looked at me like, Rob had that deer in the headlights look. And Oz literally was like, I don't know. He wasn't really excited about it initially.
Mm-hmm.
But I just, being the guy that I am and the personality that I am, I just started doing it. And we all came to a place where we agreed and let's do this. And then once we got to that point, we dove in the deep end.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I mean, it probably helps that Wes Hine and Bill Hine, who I knew very well, they're just very open-minded people. They
Very.
weren't your typical Hollywood, shut down because they're religious. They probably were like, yeah, sure, sounds cool.
Exactly. And I just think, and I don't say this in the sense of it was all about the money for them, but they were a business.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they just wanted to do good business.
Right.
And they saw us perform and saw the lines around the block and it could feel the buzz that was going on at the time with the band. And I think they just kind of thought, hey, this is gonna do well. And it did.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, you guys were talk a bit about, I think young people today don't quite understand how difficult it was to do what you did back then. What was the kind of opposition you faced? Would you have people say, if you'll just tweak this or change this, we'll take you to the top? I mean, what was that like, and how difficult was that battle to keep control of the lyrics and be able to keep those messages coming out?
Sure. I mean, it's very similar to how it feels today. It's just that I'm 42 or 3 years older. But what I mean by that is it doesn't feel good. We go and perform sometimes and we get booed. People throw things at us. You can cut the tension with a knife, and it's apparent that we're not wanted. Sometimes, I'm not saying all the time, but
Mhm.
sometimes when we go and play festivals, sometimes in some of these places in different countries. And back then, it felt the same. It was just different because we were, uh, you know, naive and young, and we didn't know what to expect. We had never experienced that before. Now we've experienced it hundreds of times,
Mhm.
and we know what to expect. So we're a little numb, we're a little jaded, uh, we're a little calloused by it, uh, and just being perfectly honest. But it's just interesting because we've never really fit in on either side. We've never fit in on the mainstream side. We've
Right,
never fit in on the Christian side.
right.
And because of that, we feel like loners. I feel like how I did in high school. I'd make friends with the one other loner, one other guy, and we'd go and head off, by ourselves at lunchtime and hang out and then go back to class. We didn't hang around a lot of people. It kind of feels like that,
Mhm.
comparatively speaking.
So so you're in the metal scene, but you're not really doing all the things that benefit from being in that scene. You're not in the Nashville Christian music scene. You really are caught in the middle.
We were caught in the middle. And I mean, part of that is our fault because of who we are. We're different. We didn't grow up in the church. We grew up in the world. And then we became Christians. I think a lot of Christian artists grow up in the church.
But God must have like an incredible sense of humor to cause Jimmy Swaggart to get you guys to believe in him. And then Jimmy Swaggart turns on you and attacks the band and says you're from the devil. Like that is right there. That's a movie right there.
Yeah, no, it was crazy. And the thing I kept reminding myself of, though, to get through that and not be hurt by it so much anyway, was he did that to any rock and roll guy,
Hmm.
his cousins. He did it to his cousins. So, I mean, I don't think it was personal. I think he literally believed that if you play rock and roll, your soul's going to hell. He believed it.
Right.
But the thing is, I felt really bad for Jimmy during that whole time, controversial time for him, because here he is. You have to be very careful when you judge other people because you have to look at yourself and realize by doing so, that there's a lot there to judge.
Right.
So you got to be real cautious. And obviously, as the world knows now, Jimmy Swaggart was judging a lot of other people, but at the same time, he was caught up in a lot of muck himself.
Yeah.
And he took a big fall.
Jerry Lee Lewis's first cousin, right?
And Mickey Gillies,
Right. Right.
and they all played piano the same, very
Yeah.
similar.
Yeah.
And they all sung with some similarities. We loved Jimmy. We were drawn to Jimmy because he sounded like Elvis. We loved Elvis. That's what drew us in.
So yeah, it's got to be a little bit of a blow to you guys to have the guy who helped mentor you spiritually come out against you so hard. Um,
It
but
was.
it was a challenging time, I think, just in general, for people to figure out. But here you are, 40 years later, you're still on the same spiritual path you were on. So you've kind of time has proved you guys were real.
Yeah, and I mean, it hasn't been easy, and it hasn't been perfect. We've had our share of mishaps and downfalls, and I talk about that to some degree in the book.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not a perfect guy. I drop an occasional f bomb, and I get angry, and I do this and I do that, and I feel like, oh man, I might need to pray a little harder next time and read the word a little longer next time. But we're not perfect. We never claim to be. But yeah, I think that's why God uses us like He does,
Yeah.
to be an example in that way, in that regard for the world. It's
Well,
pretty cool.
I want to come back to that when we talk about against the law. But so back we're kind of in 84, 85 territory. Now your first record comes out, you begin to get a buzz. Then you meet our friend Darren Hinton. That's how I first met you guys, through Darren. Talk about that period and the role that Darren played, and of course your mom co-managing you as well.
Well, it was amazing. Darren had heard about the band, and she was curious and interested in seeing the band. So she came to see us at the country club. And she really loved, all of us, and loved what we were doing and trying to do. And she had inherited some money and wanted to invest in something. And she felt like God was telling her to invest in us. And she did. We were able to buy clothing, new equipment, a billboard on Sunset, pay for the first album, and do a number of things that really gave us an advantage. Because I look back on those times, and had we not had Darren help us financially, I don't know if I'd be sitting here talking to you.
Mm-hmm.
Things might have turned out a lot differently. But she was part of the equation.
Mm-hmm.
And
And
it's
she
a
was
critical
she was
part.
she was Hollywood royalty. She was the daughter of Ed Hinton, the actor, I believe.
Yep. Yep. And she grew up in a family of actors and actresses, and her brother's an actor, and they
Mhm.
lived in Bel Air, and oh yeah, absolutely. Uh, I think her uh, godmother is Rockefeller. I mean,
Right,
yeah, it's quite a story. Pretty
right.
cool.
So she
Uh,
jumps in, begins to manage you, invest in you, and helps take things to the next level.
exactly. And she did, and God bless her. And we're still dear friends to this day. She's like, I don't want to. I mean this with all due respect. She's like a mom to us,
Mhm.
um, or a sister, certainly. But
Right.
yeah, Darren is such an important piece of the Stryper puzzle. It's super, super important.
So when you get to start to record your second record, I think we're talking 84, 85, somewhere in there. Is this To Hell with the Devil?
84 was the first album. That was a Yellow and Black Attack.
Right,
85 was Soldiers Under Command.
right.
And then 86 was To Hell with the Devil. So we met Darren back in 84.
Mm-hmm.
And she was there from the very beginning. She co-managed the band, but it was really cool and amazing how everything began to grow and take form and take shape. And by the time we got the Soldiers, it really felt, that's when we came to Japan for the first time.
Right.
And it's funny, if you watch that video live in Japan, you'll hear and see me making up lyrics, because I didn't know the lyrics from Soldiers Under Command still. I had not memorized them yet. It's pretty ridiculous.
But the Japanese probably knew every line.
Yeah, I don't think they didn't know. but I did, and I was sweating it out and embarrassed and all that. And now people watch it. I have to leave. If someone puts it on at my house, I get in the car and go to the market. I'm out.
So that's really the kind of the golden era. You had soldiers, to hell with the devil, and in God we trust, kind of in rapid fire succession. And you must have been on the road constantly at that point.
We were, and it was hard because I had children. Mikey was born in '87. Lena was born in '91, and in '87 and '88, we were that was the peak. That's when
Hmm.
we were just like traveling. We would go out and do 2 and 3 months straight, come home for a week, and go back out and do 2 and 3 months. It was insane. Uh, I would never do that now, but we did it then because we were young and we didn't think twice about it.
Hmm.
And it was one album back to back, one album a year for the most part.
Hmm. And
Crazy.
just knowing what I know about you guys, by the way, in the book I read about, you talked about how there were a couple of songs that Oz had written that you probably wouldn't have put on the record. But the way you guys operate, tell me if I'm wrong. I feel like, you're doing a lot of the lyrics. Robert's kind of the big picture. Let's call the album this. Let's have a helicopter coming in here on the video. He's kind of got all these big ideas going.
Visually, Rob was
Visually.
the visual guy. Oh
Right.
yeah.
Oz is, putting in the work, doing the guitar, doing that kind of stuff. And of course, Tim, I'm in and out of the band at that point. But it seems like you all brought a very different skill sets, group of skill sets to the music.
Yes and no. Yes and no. And this is just giving you the facts, and it's not about anyone getting credit or anyone not getting credit.
Right.
But if you could go in a time machine back to that period, then you would see the dynamic. Robert was in the corner painting drums, and I was in the corner writing all the music. I wrote not just the lyrics, I wrote the music for the
Right.
band.
Right.
And it's music was my thing. It still is. There's just this ever flowing, all these ideas that keep coming. Oz would be in the corner working on guitar solo, working out his chops.
Right.
But Rob was the visual guy, and I was the musical guy.
Hmm. Hmm.
Tim would not really. I don't recall Tim really in a corner working on anything really, but Tim was always there. We were always rehearsing, and
Hmm.
he was an important part of the band too. But I just think that the brother Rob and myself, we kind of made it. We made it all happen, and
Yeah.
and that's just what God put in Rob and what God put in me.
Yeah. And you can usually tell when the solo records come out, you can kind of tell who did what. Even like with the Beatles, John
Well,
puts out a record, Paul puts out a record, and you can see who had contributed what.
yeah, and look, I've over the past few years, I've talked a lot more about my guitar playing. I don't know why, but it was like a switch being flipped on. I started getting real frustrated about it because review after review after review after review will literally say, yeah, great album, Robert's drumming, this and that, Oz's guitar playing, Michael's vocals, and it is many times no mention of my guitar playing. But the truth is I work so hard on the guitars
Mhm.
and teaching Oz parts and showing, and the world doesn't know that. Do they need to know it? No,
Right.
but it's just become a frustrating part of my world
Yeah.
over the past actually 10 years. And lately I've just kind of let it go. It's like, whatever. But yeah,
Yeah.
guitar, I'm a guitar player first, man. I kind of wish I had not been a singer. I
Mm.
wish I was a guitar player.
Mm.
And
Did
it
you
would
have
have been a
any,
lot more fun, probably.
did you have any vocal training?
I had uh, I had a little training, if you want to call it that, from my parents, kind of showing me how to do this and use my chest and whatnot. I learned from some singer, like my dad listened to opera,
Hmm.
Mario Lanza, Pavarotti, Caruso, and Elvis. So I kind of I have that vibrato
Hmm.
operatic thing
Okay. A
going.
little bit of Elvis
And
there. Okay.
yeah, and then I took a couple lessons from a woman by the name of Elizabeth Sabine.
Okay.
And I did, I think, one by myself, and then we did a few with the whole band. And she
Hmm.
was amazing. Oh,
Hmm.
so good.
So now you're really at your high, and then the grunge era begins to hit. And that, a lot of bands get taken out by that, but you guys transitioned with the Against the Law record right around 1990 or so.
Yeah.
And by the way, in reading your book, I read the part about there was some falling back into old ways here and there. But compared to the regular rock stars, this was very tame stuff, I have to tell you. Just to make you feel better about the situation. Like you told this story, I don't think you mind me repeating it about you were with some girl and some slightly inappropriate things were happening, but you stopped before it got too bad. I'm thinking like in the rock world, this is like this is not so bad. But to where you were your peers anyway.
Yeah, when I understand when you put it that way, I totally get it, and you're right. But at the same time, cheating's cheating. So, I felt like regardless we were cheating, and we were it wasn't a good time. It wasn't a good place. We're having girls on the bus all the time, drinking, smoking, swearing, performing, then going to the bar and getting drunk with everyone that just watched us perform. It felt like a really extra high level of hypocrisy.
What do you think caused that? What was the cause of that for all you guys at that point in your lives and careers?
Personally, I think because we couldn't handle the fame
Mm,
and we couldn't handle the faith.
mm,
The fame and the faith went side by side with this band, and we were just young kids, and I don't think we could handle it. And we got tired of everyone coming against us, the world and the church.
mhm,
We had nowhere to go, nowhere to fit into, and we wanted that desperately. I think everybody does.
mhm.
And we just kind of got to a point where it's just basically, all right, screw this, F you, and that was kind of our attitude during that album and that time.
Were all four of you kind of in sync in that attitude at that time?
Absolutely. And we might not have voiced otherwise to each other, but
Yeah.
yeah, we were all encouraging each other to do bad.
Mm-hmm.
To go, hey, you think we should get some beer? Yeah, let's go. And then a six pack would turn into a case would turn into a keg, and then it just started getting to a point where we're making that album and the recording sessions we were drinking and stuff. There are people that don't remember that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Do you think
Mind
you
blowing, mind blowing.
do you think you were impacted by the televangelist scandals? I mean, you have Jim Baker, you have Jimmy Swagger getting caught with two prostitutes, two different times. You think there was an impact there?
I do. I do. I think that there might have been, and even if it was subconsciously, yes, I do. And then just the pressure of all of our peers and everything around us. Like we would go out and do a promotional tour, and we had the choice to go back to the hotel or go out and have some fun at a strip joint.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, what do you think, man? Should we go back to the hotel and do what we normally do, or should we go to the strip joint, and hang out with Robin Zander
Mm-hmm.
and,
Mm-hmm.
and David Cassidy? What do we do? Let's go to the strip joint. And that's kind of, we started letting our guard down.
Mm-hmm.
And then once we let it down far enough, it was too late.
Mm-hmm.
At least for me, speaking from my point of view, it felt too late. My marriage was suffering, my life was suffering, my heart was suffering.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I didn't like it
Yeah.
at
Well,
all.
Against the Law is actually a really good record. It just got caught up in label politics, I think, at the time. I think Enigma was going out of business, if I recall correctly,
Yep.
and just some things that happened. So it sort of got caught up in some unfortunate things. But I mean, as a record, I think you still feel pretty proud of it, don't you?
Not really.
Okay.
And I've gone on record to say this. There are things that I appreciate about it and I respect about it. The fact that we worked with Tom Werman and Eddie Delana, and,
Hmm.
and the quality is fantastic. It's a great sounding album. I don't like the fact that it feels to me as though we sold out in every way, shape, and form. We sold out our colors,
The
yellow and
logo.
black. Yeah, we lost the yellow and black, which had significance. We sold out our sound, our
Mm.
tone. We have a very distinct guitar tone, love it or hate it.
Hmm.
You know it's us when you hear it. Well, that album, it was more kind of like Van Halen.
Hmm.
We sold out our sound, started singing about girls at parties, and it just, in my opinion, I think we should have named the band a different name.
Mm. Okay.
And then maybe I'd like it more and appreciate it more.
Mm-hmm.
But because we remained Stryper, to me, it was an embarrassment. And I know some people love that album, but it'll never be one of my favorites. I'll never put it high on the list ever.
Now, the practice of throwing out Bibles into the audience, like that's very interesting. I don't think anybody ever did that before or after. What's the origins of that?
Well, I don't know if anyone knows this or not, but in every Bible, we would tape $1,000 bill.
Oh man, I missed that. Shoot.
No, you know what? I forget whose idea that was. I want to say it was Michael Guido's.
Mm-hmm. Michael
Michael
Guido
Guido,
is our mutual friend, a road pastor for bands.
yep. And he was coming around. He was a friend of Tim's, in a band with Tim. He was a drummer. He
Didn't
became
know
a
that.
believer and devoted his life to Christ back then. And he
Yep.
started coming around and really helping us shape everything from a
Mm-hmm.
spiritual point of view.
Mm-hmm.
And then he suggested, what if you guys toss out Bibles? And at first we thought that's weird.
Wow.
That's really weird, and then we started doing it. And oddly enough, they used to get left all over the floor
Right.
because they were just Bibles. And then we started putting Stryper stickers on them, and that's when they never got left from that point forward.
So that was Michael Guido.
Yep,
Amazing.
Michael Guido. Now, see, Rob might tell you he had.
Okay, I got it. We'll get the different take on it. But I'm sure you had people who were critical of you saying, "How dare you throw a Bible around like that?" And don't you have any respect for God's word? You probably must have
Yep,
gotten that too, right?
and we still do to this day. And the thing is, I always tell people that it's not the paper that the words are printed on that's holy; it's the words themselves.
Right.
So the paper is just paper. And when I tell them that, they look at me and say, "Yeah, okay, that makes sense." But it is a little weird. It's always felt a little weird for me to sign the Bible. But I'm not sure why. To me, it's like signing money. It just feels wrong,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
but we do it. And we always have. We've never sold them. We've
Right.
never sold a Bible. If people contribute and they donate money to a cause or do this, we'll give them a Bible. But we've never sold Bibles ever.
And then we moved from there to your solo career. That's when you and I had some intersection. I put out your record Truth over in Japan, but you did some solo records that were well received. And once again, the fans could see, oh, that's what Michael contributed to Stryper because now they could see what you would do on your own, right?
Well, I mean, I probably it probably that makes great sense. Whether
Mhm.
that's the case all the time, I don't know, but I think it certainly helped. Build the idea that I'm a songwriter because I've done 11 solo albums
Mhm.
and I've done multiple side projects with George Lynch called Sweet and Lynch and
Right.
Sunbomb with Tracy Guns and all these side projects. And I write songs and I've written. I think I was doing the math the other day. I think I'm up in the like almost 300 range. I want to get to 500, and
Mm.
we'll see if that works out. But songs are my thing,
Mhm.
and that's really what I love to do more than anything is write.
Yeah, for anybody watching this, I would really encourage you to go back and check out especially Michael's song Blue Bleeds Through. I mean, that's a real example. I know you co-wrote it with somebody, but those are very, very deep lyrics, talking about how the colors, our moods and colors, and blue makes me feel this way. It's very, very interesting. Not the kind of song I'd expect from Stryper, but from your mind and heart, a different side of you.
Yeah, well, that's the beautiful thing about doing a solo album is I can stretch out a little bit more and experiment a little bit more and do things that I typically can't do with Stryper. Stryper is very focused, and we have to be, and we can't wander too far from what we do, or we're going to hear about it from the fan base.
Right.
But as a solo artist, I can do that. I can do whatever I want to do. And the question is, at that point in time, will it be received? Will people like it or not? But I can do whatever I want. And I just released another album called The Master Plan recently. And I, again, just did whatever I wanted to do. It's very eclectic mix musically of songs, almost kind of a 70s feel at times.
Hmm.
And I enjoy doing that. It keeps things fresh for me,
Hmm.
and it doesn't become stale, and lyrically as well. But I also do solo metal albums
Hmm.
as well because people say, "Oh, Stryper's the only reason why he rocks and gets heavy. He on his own, he's not heavy at all." And I'm like, "Really? Okay, well, let's do a heavy album then." I did an album called Tin, and it's all metal,
Hmm.
probably heavier than Stryper.
So there's like a 10, 12-year hiatus before the band gets back together. But in the middle of that, you have a giant tragedy in your life with your wife's getting cancer and passing away from that. Talk a little bit about that and how that impacted your life and work and everything.
Yeah, I mean that was a time, not just for me, but obviously for my children and my wife Kyle. I mean, it's hard to describe because we devoted our lives to God. We had a ministry and we did everything, at least we felt, for God, and it was all everything surrounding and about us was basically laid at God's feet for him. Like, and then something like that happens. It's so tragic. And the first question is why?
Right,
And you don't ever really get that answer. It's not like God comes down and speaks to you in the flesh and says, "This is why."
right.
You get little bits and pieces of answers as time goes on, and you look back on it and you realize, like, okay, this happened, that happened. It made me who I am. It made me stronger. Thank God for this, that. You see all the reasons why it could have happened, but you still don't really understand it fully.
Hmm.
I don't, being honest. And it was a really dark time, very dark time. I felt like I felt betrayed by
Hmm.
God.
Hmm.
I know Kyle did.
Hmm.
I'm sure my children did. But you have to pick up and move on and stay rooted because God makes no promises. He doesn't promise you it's going to be perfect. He doesn't promise you it's going to be terrible. I think it's a combination of all of the above. And you have to learn to flow with life and just give everything to God and learn from it.
Hmm.
Pray about it, learn from it, and move on.
But part of
And
you
and then you realize his plan in it all eventually.
is part of you saying to God, how could this happen to us? I'm serving you. Why would you do this to me? Is that the calculus?
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Yeah, you devote your life and then something tragic happens like that because it's one thing to be sick or to go through a valley experience for a month or a year or what have you and come out of that. But it's another thing to be terminal
Hmm.
and to see your life and your spouse's life and your world crumble.
How did it impact your kids?
It still is. It still is. I mean, in many ways. My daughter's doing exceptionally well. My son, not as well.
Hmm.
Uh, he was very, very close to Kyle. So was my daughter, Lena. But I can see it breaks my heart to see things that they're missing out on. Like
Hmm.
my daughter going to school and graduating, her getting married, my son getting married, all these life events
Right,
that their mom should be there for.
right.
And she's not.
Hmm.
And everyone's like, well, she's in heaven, she's looking down, but yeah, okay. It's still, there's this void
Yeah.
that you just have to keep chugging through. So it kind of puts this cloud over life, so to speak,
Mm-hmm.
in many ways, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, well, then, of course, after that, the band gets back together. I mean, it really is remarkable. Most bands have broken up a long time ago. The fact that you guys are still together, obviously, you have a new bass player in the last incarnation, but it's pretty amazing. And yet, you all have your own lives, though. I think you're all in different cities. So
Yeah.
what's the dynamic there? You're together but not together, and like in each other's back pockets or in your backyards every holiday.
Well, I tell you what, the dynamic is, we used to live in the same area and we did a lot more together.
Right.
Now we live in different areas, as you said, different states, and we travel together, and that's great. But it's also nice when we're not together.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
like I love the guys, God bless them, and I hope they love me. But it's also very nice to not travel and get home and have a little breather
Mm-hmm.
and get a little bit of a break from everybody from time to time. Because I think as we've gotten older, we've gotten a little more settled in our ways, and sometimes that can be problematic
Right.
in a business and a ministry. Everyone's a little on the stubborn side, and they kind of do what they want to do, or they don't do what they're supposed to do, or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And it gets frustrating at times. But God's worked it out where we still make music together, we still travel together, we still do what we're called to do, but we don't have to duke it out like Rob and I did way back in the old days. We would go outside and duke it out. That was way back in the day.
Right. So, Michael, then you meet Lisa. She not only becomes your wife, of course, after Kyle's passing, but she kind of becomes, I mean, she's like a manager slash the glue that holds it all together in the last years.
Absolutely. I mean, initially, when we first met and we got married, we fell in love when we got married, and she is a true gift from God to me. I don't even know what I would do without her, to be honest, and certainly what I would have done without her. Uh, I think about that, and I think that could have been really bad. But you fast forward about a year and a half, we were represented by Union and entertainment, and that didn't work out. We went our separate ways, and then Lisa wound up co-managing the band with Dave Rose,
Right.
and she basically, she's like that fifth band member. I mean,
Right.
she does so much,
But
and
but
she
but Michael,
she
she could easily have been a Yoko Ono type figure, right? But she brought you guys together, not drove you apart.
Yeah, and I think anytime anyone hears about, a wife coming in to be a part of an
Right.
established rock band, I think Yoko Ono, you know what I
Right.
mean?
Right.
But Lisa's the absolute exact opposite in every way,
Right.
shape, and form of Yoko Ono.
Yeah.
Lisa's just a really brilliant, smart, money person. She's really good. She's helped us learn how to spend wisely and save wisely.
Hmm.
And very good at accounting and budgeting. And, she was an executive director for years. And she's just really artistic too. She's a real musical person. She comes in and listens to everything before I send it to the guys.
Hmm.
I'll play a song for her and say, "What do you think?" And if she's not feeling it, I think, wait a minute here. I better work on this for another few hours and get this to a point where Lisa's feeling it, because Lisa's, like I said, she's got great taste in music. And then when she comes in and she's tapping her foot and going, "Oh, wow. Oh, I like that. I know I'm on to something." She's incredible and a true godsend. But most importantly, she stepped in and brought us all together. She's Lena's best friend, my daughter.
Hmm.
I mean, they literally not only work together, they hang out together. On days off, they go and do things together.
Well, you got lucky,
And
Michael. You got lucky.
I'm telling you right now, I mean, the band and the crew, we go our separate ways, like the parting of the Red Sea,
Mhm.
on days off. But they go hang and they love each other, and she's a true gift, man. I'm telling you, there's no one like her on earth, in my opinion. Obviously, that's why I married her.
Yeah.
I'm very fortunate.
Yeah, well, you've had your own health scare recently. Obviously, Oz, your guitar player, has had some, but you've had some cancer issues recently. What's that been like?
Yeah, I have my eye issues. My retina detached twice. I had four surgeries. It was pretty much the worst case scenario
Mm,
for somebody's eye, the retina. So this eye, my right eye right here, is pretty bad in terms of vision.
mm,
That's why I wear these glasses, prescription glasses. My left eye has a tear, so I go to the doctor every 4 months. I have to get my eyes checked constantly, and they
mm,
keep an eye on it. And then I had a thyroid cancer on this side. They took it out. This side had Hashimoto,
mm.
and it developed into cancer. This side. and I'm going to go in June and get checked again. They're doing what's called active surveillance. Uh, I'm praying that it disappears. That would be amazing, and I think God can do anything, and He can do that. If He chooses not to do that and it continues to grow, I'll have surgery at some point again and deal with it. But they're keeping an eye on it.
Is any of this caused by your singing?
I don't know. It's a very good question. I don't think so, but it's not hereditary. No one that I know in the family has had thyroid cancer. Only thing I can think of is I worked in the cranberry bogs when I moved back to Massachusetts from 95 to 2000.
Right.
So for 5 years. And I used to put Roundup on
Oh,
all the weeds with
Ruth.
like a hockey stick. But
Wow.
it would be windy and I would breathe that stuff in. And
Mm.
that's the only thing I could imagine is maybe that played a part or a role. I don't know. It is very interesting. Very interesting.
Well, any attorneys want to handle your case, please call Michael at 1-800 Roundup.
You're not an attorney, are you, Mark?
No, but that doesn't sound too crazy. That doesn't sound like a stretch.
No, it's not a stretch.
Yeah.
It's absolutely not a stretch.
Hmm.
Uh, I started developing nodules in the mid 2000s. Not long after that, and
Well, the other possibility, Michael, is that that house that you lived in Fullerton is right next to one of the biggest toxic waste dump sites in all of America. That
is it really?
just up the street from you. You'll have to Google that sometime.
I did not know that.
Your last place in
Wow.
Fullerton, because I'm not too
I'm going
far
to
away.
Google that because you've got me intrigued. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's the park and stuff now, but it was one of the last and there yeah, so you have
Wow.
two possibilities now, or maybe it's a double. Maybe it was a double whammy, but I'm joking around, but it's not funny, but you're recovering and it sounds like you're going to beat this thing.
I'm recovering, and they say if you're going to have cancer, that's the one you want. I mean, that's one that is the most treatable
Yeah.
anyway, and
Right.
that's what I got. And I'm praying that it doesn't spread, and it gets taken care of, and I'll continue doing whatever it is that I do. If I can't sing anymore because of this, because that is a high risk factor from the surgery, is vocal fold damage, vocal cord damage. I play guitar, so I'll just keep playing guitar, running around.
Yeah, we talked about Darren earlier, Darren Hinton, now Darren Gabriel, and she I've known her for years. That's how I met you. And she would often talk about, walking in miracles and all the miracles that happened. And you did see a fair share of things that were hard to explain. I know I've seen one up close, which was Japan. There's really no reason that Stryper, not no reason, but Stryper should have been that big in Japan because Japan is not a very Christian country, of course.
Yeah,
And yet, there was a guy named Masa Ito who was Japan's #1 rock critic, and basically, he's like the god of Japanese heavy metal. And if he says something is good, it's good. And this guy discovers you, comes over, and promotes you, and all of a sudden, you're literally #1 in Japan. So you must have seen a lot of things like that happen in your career that were hard to explain in the natural.
absolutely. And we still do. The things that you just scratch your head over and you say, there's no way that should have happened. And it did. So we're very blessed in that regard. And that's a God thing. There's no question about it in my mind. People can, think whatever they want to think, but I know it's a God thing and we can feel it. But why us? That's the big question.
Hmm.
There's so many great bands, talented bands, Christian bands, even mainstream bands that are Christian, that God could have done the same thing with, and then some. But He chose us for whatever reason and did some incredible things and really mind blowing. And what an honor to be a part of that and to have been a part of that.
What about, I'd love to ask you about this because of your background. The idea of touring, a band touring around the States, sort of developed in the 19, whatever it is, 20s, 30s. And is it possible to have a family life and have a touring life that a rock band has? Or is it just completely incompatible with a family lifestyle?
I think it's incompatible. It's very difficult. People do all the time. They travel and they have a family life. They talk to their kids, talk to their wife, and I experience it all the time and witness it. But the thing is, it's not the same. How can it be? If you're not there when your kids are young, especially, and that's part of
Right.
the reason why I left the band because the Stryper was going down a different path, and I figured, like, this isn't worth it. Devoting our lives to Christ is worth it, but
Hmm.
wandering down this old man path, no, I don't want it. So I got out of it, and I was able to for a few years just spend my time with my kids, make birthday cakes, walk them to school, go to school events, and it was amazing. So I missed out on a lot of that, and that bums me out. It really does.
Mm.
But that's the thing that musicians miss out on. There's nothing you can do about it because once you're in, you're in, and once you get to a certain age, there's no turning back. And I
Right.
look at it as it. Compare it to the circus. We really are part of the circus.
Mm.
We travel, set up, tear down, travel, set up, tear down, travel. It's the way it is.
Hmm.
You don't get to see much, you don't get to meet much, but you do it because that's all you know how to do.
I just wonder if it's smarter to do something like a residency. You set up in Vegas or wherever, everyone comes to you, and you can have some kind of a stable life in a situation like that. If that wouldn't make more sense for the future for bands.
That would be phenomenal. Obviously, then there's that flip side of that coin where it's got to be desirable and
Mhm.
able to make money for the higher ups. But I mean, I would think something like that could be pretty cool for Stryper, a band like Stryper. And then I talked about, I think I mentioned it to you, a cruise, a Stryper cruise.
Right, you just came off a
We've had a lot
cruise.
of interest in that too. But it'd be cool to do something like that,
Yeah,
to
what
do
was
a
the
residency or a cruise or
what was
whatnot.
the cruise
And
you just came off of? What was that like?
it's different. It's different. I mean, Larry Moran runs that and a few other cruises. He does an incredible job. I don't know how he does it. It's unbelievable. I can't even imagine the work that goes into it. But they invite us to come and be a part of it. We don't like to do every year. We like to try to take a breather from it so we don't oversaturate
Mm.
and burn out people on Stryper. Uh, so we do it every 2 or 3 years, but just to be asked to an event like that is really humbling and very cool.
It's
And
the
you're talking 52 bands.
Monsters of
Insane.
Rock tour, right?
Yeah, it's all 80s. Night Ranger was there, uh, Queensryche, just Loudness from Japan. They were on the boat. And they came and saw us. I got pictures with them. Akira, the guitar player, he's like, Michael, so awesome to see those guys.
Well, you've had an amazing career, and while the televangelists get caught with hookers, you're still here 40 years later, and you still believe what you believe, and it's a remarkable feat. And by the way, there's the music that has continued. So it's been an incredible journey. Well, thanks for jumping in and stopping by.
Hey, buddy, look at thanks for having me. We haven't talked in a long time face to face like this. So I hope we can see you next time we're out in LA and do
Let's do
some
it.
more stuff together. It'd be phenomenal.
Let's do it. Great to be with you.
All right, brother.